Princeton Community Middle School students. This is our one video from week number 7 being created and uploaded on Tuesday, May 5th. Last week you had a worksheet assignment on the history of timekeeping. Today we're going to talk about a project related to that very topic. We're going to start out by taking a look at the PowerPoint like we always do. And you'll see past due assignments. We had 2 on week 1, 2 on week 2, 2 on week 3. You can still do any of those assignments for full credit. And I'm going to talk to you about doing some things over today in case you want to improve your grade. Week number 4, we had 2 assignments. Week number 5, we had 2 assignments. Both of those weeks you had a topic where you worked on some questions and then had a project, and the same thing for week 4 and 5. Week 6, I was told to cut back to 1 topic a week or 1 assignment. So last week you just had the history of timekeeping worksheet, and today we're going to go into week 7, and we're trying to alternate a worksheet 1 week and then a project that supports that topic the next week. I want to announce to you, besides the fact that we're cutting back to 1 assignment a week, if you have or need one-on-one help, especially in measurement, you can request an appointment. We'll set up a time when we can meet on as a Zoom meeting, and we'll do that on Thursdays. So just about any time during that day you want to set up an appointment, you can do that. Opportunities to resubmit worksheets. On these worksheets, everybody should be getting 100. You're able to look at the worksheet and look at the answer sheet at the same time. So everyone should be getting 100, certainly a 90, but we have a lot of students getting 20s and 30s. I spoke to a parent this week that said her son just guessed on all the answers. He ended up with a 30, wanted to know if he could do the assignment over. Yes, you can do assignments over, but just because you do them over, if you don't study for it or read the resource material, you're just going to score the same. So yes, you can do them over. If you're having problems doing that, send me an email and I'll try to make it so it's easier for you to do. Our weekly schedule, a little bit modified, but email update will be sent out on Monday. On Tuesday, there'll be a lesson on the topic or a project assignment. We're doing the project assignment today. Wednesday, there's time for Zoom meetings, and you can drop by anytime between 12 and 2. The address for that is on the updates that I send out on Mondays and Fridays. Thursday, you'll have a time available for one-on-one Zoom meetings. And Friday, once again, I'll email an update and reminder of assignments that are due. The activity today is going to be a project. It says your assignment is to imagine, plan, and create a project that keeps time, a timepiece. Your timepiece could be manually or electrically operated. It can keep time in seconds in increments of 10, in minutes or hours. So I'll explain what that means, where it says, for example, if it's in seconds, the device must keep time for either 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 seconds, and it should be accurate within 5 seconds. So for example, if you came up with a timer that timed for 30 seconds, it should be accurate every time you try it within 5 seconds. That means it could be as low as 25 seconds or as high as 35 seconds. Or the next one's minutes. The device must keep time in minutes without varying more than plus or minus 10 seconds. That word minutes should be minus right here. So plus or minus 10 seconds. So for example, if you create a device that keeps time for 3 minutes, it can be as low as 2 minutes and 50 seconds or as high as 3 minutes and 10 seconds. So it should be accurate within 10 seconds. Or your device can keep time in hours, and this device must keep time in hours without varying more than plus or minus 10 minutes. It looks like I got two spots there where I need to change that word minutes to minus. So if you have a timer that keeps time for 1 hour, it can be as low as 50 minutes or as high as an hour and 10 minutes and be counted correct. The presentation of your timepiece should look good. You can make it look good with stickers, color pencils, crayons, color yarn, pipe cleaners, etc. And that will count for about 10% of the grade. Some of you turned in assignments this last time, like some of the fans. If they weren't decorated, you ended up with a 90. So you got an A, but it wasn't 100. So if you would decorate it, just spend a little bit of time making your project look good, you'll have 10% added to what you would have received otherwise. Then, as we have been doing, insert a photo of your timepiece on the last slide of this assignment. This assignment is due on Friday, May 15th. Since you have plenty of time, do some research and make your project worthy of the time you have to complete it. So don't complete it in 5 minutes. Try to spend more time on that than that. Come up with something more complex and some of these simple solutions I'll give you today. You've got over a week to do this project, so plenty of time. It's not due this Friday, it's due the next Friday. And finally, don't buy a clock movement from Hobby Lobby or Michael Crafts and stick it in a clock face. I've seen people buy these little pieces. You put a AAA battery in it or a AA battery. You stick it in a hole in a plate or a saw blade or some other type of decorative piece, and it keeps time perfectly. That's not what I'm looking for. I don't want you to buy this. I want you to make something from just scratch material, the materials that we brainstorm the third week, where we had to brainstorm materials that most students would have available at home. So don't buy what you're doing, actually make it. This is the slide where it says place a picture or video of your completed timepiece in action on this slide. So if you make an hourglass, for example, you might want to video it. Now, if it's supposed to keep time for 15 minutes, you don't want to video all 15 minutes, maybe just a little bit of it, 5 or 10 seconds, or you can just put a picture of it in operation. Remember, to add a picture, you need to use the insert menu on the slide. Make your picture large or as big as the slide itself. Now, I added something this time. It says, if you have problems, see the next slide. I won't read all this to you, but it gives you 4 different options of ways that you can get that video or picture to me. And the final one says you can even email it to me, but try to get it on the assignment itself, on that last slide of the assignment itself. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures of examples of timepieces, and I'm going to show you some that I made similar to what you might be able to make. Now, this is a wooden clock kit. You would probably buy this. I've seen these at Hobby Lobby, and I don't want you to necessarily go out and buy it, but if you did happen to buy it, this would count. And this one is pretty accurate. You could also buy this plastic kit. I've seen this online. I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen it online. And it comes in pieces, and you have to snap all the pieces together. And it keeps pretty accurate time also. This is more like what I'm looking for. You can make stuff from the kits, but these are different sundials. I'll show you one today that I made using this design. It's a paper plate with some paper that you printed out and a pencil. This one's just using a stick or a pencil on a piece of Play-Doh or clay and rocks. So even if you have no materials, you can find a stick. If you don't have Play-Doh, you can stick it in a piece of mud or a piece of candy like Tootsie Roll that's squished up, and you can find rocks around in your neighborhood. You'd have to do a little bit of research to figure out how to make this keep time. This is a pretty cool looking sundial. I haven't tried this one myself, but it looks like it would keep pretty accurate time. And this is one, I remember when I was in Cub Scouts, we made sundials that looked like this. So this is certainly within your ability to do. So those are examples of sundials, and I'm going to show you a couple that I made. Another example is a candle clock. You would have to do a little bit of testing to figure this one out. This probably burns down a section for the first hour, second hour, third hour, fourth hour, fifth hour, and sixth hour. Same thing with this one on the right. This one's kind of cool because I think it casts a shadow. So as the flame is burning in the middle and it goes across this, it makes a line indicating what time it is. So as this candle burns down, the shadow is going to move up. So that one's really cool. I'd never seen that one before until I was researching today. Another example is an hourglass. You all know what an hourglass is. If you watched The Wizard of Oz, you remember there was a big hourglass that they threw down on the ground. These are examples. This was made with pop bottles or water bottles. I'll show you one that I made like this. This was made with 2 clear Christmas ornaments. I'm not sure that all the sand would go down. And by the way, you don't have to use sand. I'll show you what I use. It looks like this first one on the left is sand. It looks like this one might be salt or sugar. And then finally, this one on the right is probably pretty top heavy and it might fall over. So, but if you're careful, it looks like one bottle on top of the other. probably a piece of cardboard in here with a hole in it for this sand to go through. And it looks like they had color sand. They may have bought it at a craft store. Water clock I've not tried, but I've seen a lot online about water clocks. And this one's got the blue water going from the top bottle to the bottom through a little stream. And it looks like they're timing it with their watch and then marking where the minutes are. And this looks like it would probably keep track of maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Same thing with the one on the right. The smaller the hole, the longer it takes this water to come out. So you might have to experiment with that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop. I'm going to switch to a different camera. Okay, this first one I want to show you, it's a sundial, and I downloaded this piece of paper from the internet. It's called Do It Yourself, DIY, Do It Yourself, sundial clock base. So I printed it out, and then I cut it with a pair of scissors. And then I attached it to a paper plate. And this is a fairly heavy paper plate. And I just put it on there with a glue stick. Now, the way this works, and I don't have any sunlight in the room here, but I'm going to simulate it with the light on my iPhone. So if the sun was in this position, it'd be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and so on. Now, obviously, if it's really late at night, you're not going to be able to keep time, but you can see how it works. You do have to orient your clock the correct position, and so it'll be in the right place in the sun. Or if you know it's at 1 o'clock, you could just simply set it up like this so that the line goes across the 1 at 1 o'clock, and then as the sun moves across the sky, the shadow moves. So that's one example of a sundial. This is another one. Now this is the instructions and the way it appeared on the monitor when I looked it up. And it gives you instructions down here. There's 9 steps to the instructions. So I printed out just this section full size. And this is what I ended up with. And it's sitting at an angle. You can see here, depending on what latitude and longitude you're at, it tells you what angle. And then here again, I'll use my simulated sun. And I'm holding my iPhone above it. And you can see if it was at noon, it would be here, and then it would go to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and so on. So those are 2 examples of clocks that I've made the way I would expect you to do for this assignment. Let me show you another one now. Okay, now this is one that I made from bottles, and you could do it with a bottle like this, a Pepsi bottle or some type of bottle, but I happen to have some of these little water bottles. And what I did was I took the cap and I taped the 2 caps of the 2 bottles together and then made a hole. There you can see the hole right there. And if you make the hole too small, the material I'm using for sand clogs up the hole. So I had to make the hole bigger. I taped the 2 bottle caps together like this. And for my sand, I could have used play sand. I tried salt, and that worked. I found out the sugar that I had at my house was finer than the salt, and it didn't clog up the hole as fast. So I calibrated mine to go for 3 minutes, and you can see the salts falling from the top to the bottom. The reason I chose 3 minutes is that's the amount of time it takes to boil an egg, soft boil an egg. So you can go to the store and buy egg timers, and they keep time just like this. And if you were turning this in as a project, you could take some video of it running for a little while, but you don't need to upload a 3-minute video. Maybe you could video the beginning and the end. So that's sugar. The bigger the hole, the faster it's going to go through. So you try to make the hole as small as you can and keep the sugar flowing. Okay, finally, the third one I did was a candle. And I had these old birthday candles, and I took one candle and I lit it and I got it burning, and I timed exactly 1 minute, and it went down about a ½ inch, and that was how long it took to go 1 minute. So then I took a marker and I marked a ½ inch down, and you can see one of the dots there. And then I made another dot for 2 minutes, another dot for 3 minutes. So here again, we're timing the time it takes to hard boil an egg. And so you'd have to light it and then you let it burn. And when it gets down to that first line, you'll know 1 minute's up. So you just watch it go for 3 minutes. And you, here again, a video, this will work great, but you don't need to make the video last all 3 minutes. So those are some examples I came up with. All of those are certainly doable for a middle school student. Probably don't do the candle one unless your parents are around. You don't want to catch things on fire. Some of your parents don't want you playing with fire. You can do it outside, I guess, but make sure your parents are around to watch. Um, do some research on the internet. There's some really cool ways of doing this. You don't have to do any of the ones I showed you. There's other ways of doing it. So give this a shot. You got over a week and a half to get it done. Any questions, as always, email me or meet with me on the Zoom meeting tomorrow or next Wednesday. Until then, stay safe, be good, keep in touch, and I'll see you next week.